Hi there, I hope all is well. Welcome to Pearl, a world where modern-day princesses strive for class, sass, and strass. I'm your host, Victoria, and today's episode is going to be on the 3 things you should never be with men. I've been noticing a lot with women and their relationships that they tend to exude one of these 3 things, and it just immediately at least makes me cringe and realize that their relationship is probably not going in the direction that they'd want. And it's not helping them when it comes to their relationship with men in a romantic way or also in a personal or even a professional way. And I will mention I am in the south of France actually right now, and I hope to make some episodes while here. But because of that, there's a lot of traffic where I'm at because I'm in a pretty downtown area. And so you might hear a bit of noise. I'm sorry. I tried my best to find as secluded of a place as possible at my place. But anywho, on to the episode. So the 3 things we should never be. Starting with number 1, which is a huge one, and it makes me really sad that a lot of women fall under this category, and that is being a nagger and nagging men. Oh, it drives me up the wall when I see women nagging men, do this, do that, you need to do this, you should do that. You are imposing a motherly role on these men if you are being a nagger. And it's the most unattractive thing, to be completely honest with you, because it shows you're insecure, with all due respect. It shows that you don't have trust in your partner or in this person, and that you feel the need to kind of dominate and overpower him in some way. I mean, and it also shows that you don't really see him as an equal, and that he's not somebody on your level. It's kind of presuming a higher level on top of him. And so, my kind of question to follow with this, if you're a nagger, is like, who do you think you are kind of thing, to assume that you get to nag possibly your husband or your boyfriend. And I don't care if it's like a husband or boyfriend of many, many years, that doesn't change how you treat him. And this and also the next, well, actually all of these really fall under the episode that I had about the 3 things that you should have in your relationship. Number 1 being respect. And so if you're a nagger, and also the 3 other things, or the 2 other things that I'll be sharing, you're not really showing a lot of respect to him. Again, you don't see him as an equal. You're not his mom, and you're also presuming that you're his boss, which I don't think is really healthy. And you've taken on this identity in your relationship to be the leader in some case, or the superior. And so I know some women might argue like, well, if I don't, then he won't do the said thing. Like, let's say it's a chore. I don't know. Like, let's say it's doing the dishes that this wife is nagging her husband about. Well, do you think nagging is really the way to, get the solution that you want? I really do believe a lot of women need to learn before they start dating how men operate, how their brains operate, and how they respond and feel to certain energies and approaches that women give them. And so nagging is not one of the successful strategies. And so again, a woman could come and say, oh, well, if I don't nag him, then he won't do it. Well, is that because he's really fundamentally lazy, as you're kind of implying? Or is it maybe because he's in an environment where he doesn't feel encouraged or respected enough or believed in enough that he could take care of it himself in his own way on his own time? And so if he's fundamentally lazy, like he just, from the beginning of your relationship, he won't do anything, why would you date him? That's where, like, the finger pointing, you can bring it to the man. But this is a big philosophy that I have, which is if a woman complains a lot about her husband, it actually, for me, I never actually look at the husband and continue that finger pointing. It's very much a self-inflicted finger pointing. I always look to the woman and I'm thinking, well, why would you date a man who's like that then? Why would you marry a man who's like that? There are competent men who can pull their weight in relationships and in the household. So you chose not to date a man like that, and then all of a sudden you think in marriage that's going to change. And again, this is where women need to study male behavior and see that if a man is fundamentally how he is in whatever way, that's going to be very hard for him to change, especially through this tactic of nagging. I'm sure there are other ways that, you guys can address it, you could sit down, you can chat about it. But if it's something that's just fundamentally not how he is, and he's been a lazy, kind of maybe messy guy all his life, then that's up to you if you can tolerate that or not. And obviously you're not. So then again, that's kind of the finger is being pointed back at you as to why you would tolerate that and marry that. Because we know there are wonderful men out there who are willing to pull their weight, or at least, attempt to, and really try and pull some effort, even if it's not naturally their thing, because they love their woman and because they want to make their woman happy. So that is the avenue if he's fundamentally lazy. Now, if he's just maybe super discouraged because of this condescending energy you give him with the nagging and you make him feel small, then that's where I'm like, if you learn about male behavior, I would love to be able to help you on approaching things. And I was actually going to kind of give this, what I'm dancing around is like, there's advice and ways at which you can speak to men, and they are very receptive and it works very well with them. And it makes them feel like an equal, it makes them feel respected, it makes them feel encouraged and actually inspired to do the thing. But if you nag him, it's just giving like a motherly energy, and he's probably not going to respond very well to that, because I'm sure, most sons aren't exactly listening to their mom when it comes to doing chores. So that's one very small, minuscule example of that. But he is a grown man. You don't own him. He's not your pet. He's not your slave or your maid or whatever. You should be in a relationship with a man in which you're both equal, in which you understand what you both need, and with a man who loves you very much and wants to make you very happy. But on the flip side, you also should be making him very happy. And this kind of nagging is probably not making him happy, which probably kills his desire to want to do anything, because he knows that when he approaches you, you're just going to start nagging. So some basic advice, I could literally do a whole episode on how to treat men and how to have really great relationships with men. But one thing I would say is, number one, when a man comes back home from work or whatever, you don't immediately start dropping your lore of the day. You don't start complaining. You don't start telling him what to do. You get all dolled up as best you can. You try and, spiff up as much as you want. At the end of the day, you also don't have to do anything, but this is just advice. I would highly recommend spiffing up where you're at, and then also spiffing yourself up a little bit, getting a little dolled up, and then greeting him with the biggest smile, the biggest hugs, the biggest kisses, making it feel welcome and warm when he comes home. I see too often there are marriages in which, it's understandable that when she's unhappy, she's obviously not going to want to hey, honey, you're home when he comes back. But assuming, that both of you are, loving and in a happy place, you shouldn't be just all of a sudden dumping things on him. So I would highly encourage, you want to make the space a place that he wants to come home to, that he wants to relax at, that he wants to help out in. Make it this feminine energy in the house that he just is intoxicated by, where he just wants to swoop you up and grab you and kiss you and love you. That's my one little advice. Another thing, certain phrases you should not be using with men. You need to. You should. Why don't you? Very condescending. Again, you're taking a position of authority or power. So if, let's say, there is something that needs to be done. I actually saw this video recently I thought was funny. And gosh, it's kind of cringy and sad how people kind of out their marriages to be very disrespectful and kind of just rough. And I really don't like that. And so this husband comes home from a 15-hour, blue collar job, construction or something. And she comes home and you're like, you need to fix the garbage can or whatever. And the poor guy was just so deflated and beaten. And I'm like, do you know nothing about also human decency? Would you do that to your daughter? Would you do that to your girlfriend, your best friend, your mom? No. So I don't know why some women or some people in general just think that with their romantic partner, they can all of a sudden switch off that respectful, decent, perspective and just become kind of a menace to the person. But anywho, and the poor guy was just so deflated and defeated. And so here are some ways that I would recommend you approaching things with men. You tell them observations. Honey, I noticed that the garbage can is broken. Step one, no, bring to his attention an observation. Number two, create a question that inspires him to find a solution. but doesn't put pressure on him to do anything right now. So I would say, like, honey, I noticed that the garbage can isn't, it's broken. What do you think we should do about it? And then also say we, so it makes it seem like a team effort and like you're not just dumping stuff on him. And then just pause and see what he has to say. Oh, okay. And I promise you, this is where the male nature comes in. If a man loves you, if you're in a good relationship with a good man who respects you, loves you, and has fun with you, aka the 3 things that are in that podcast episode, go listen to it and really ingrain it and put it in your body, that's what your relationship should have. If he loves you and all that, now it's on his mind to be your hero. And he wants to try and help you and make your life easier because he knows that maybe you deal with that garbage can a lot. So now, rather than nagging him, at the end of the day, it's the same like outcome. But rather than nagging him, which is just a really bad energy, kind of like deflating energy for him, now he's inspired. He feels like there's a team effort here to solve a solution, but he's going to feel like he came out of this being the hero and helping you, and there's not pressure put on him. You'd be surprised how much people don't really do well with external pressure usually, but they do well with a lot of internal pressure. So if you're constantly the external pressure, I promise it's not going to do anything. But if you inspire in him some sort of internal pressure, that'll help. And again, like, I'm not here to like try and like manipulate or anything, but at the end of the day, like, you need to get things done and you want to do it in a respectful, loving way. And this is gonna, I think, just make everybody happy at the end of the day. So no more nagging, no more nagging. If you want more tips and phrases and ways to approach, maybe finding solutions to problems that are going on in the house or like in your relationship or whatever, I'm here. But there's just too much nagging. I can't take it, honestly. Just seeing it, hearing it from my friends too. Like, I love them and I know that they're going through the, early 20 stage of like figuring all that out. But, at some point, people hopefully come out of it in their 30s and they realize you're not supposed to be talking to your romantic partner like that. But anywho, so it's annoying, and I can't even imagine being the man in that. Oh my gosh. Like, being an outsider third-party woman and then being the actual man first person, like, oof, I don't know. Okay, the second thing not to be ever with a man is the critic. You should not be criticizing men. If they don't live up to your expectation or your standard, then you move on and you let them go. Or you gently give them a chance, and again, with very helpful, gentle ways, you can inspire to see, or like kind of just see, will these inspire him to maybe be the type of man that you're hoping to be? But at the end of the day, he is an autonomous person and he can be and do what he wants. So if that's not up to par for you, you don't criticize him and you don't beat him down. That's on you to move on. And that's where, unfortunately, the insecurity versus confidence epidemic always comes back to, or everything comes back to that, because your insecurity and your desperation to have a man is having you settle with a man that unfortunately maybe doesn't hit your standards, even though nobody's forcing you to do that. But again, insecurity is inspiring you to do that. And then you will be in a relationship that is not happy, not fulfilling, not loving, not respectful, not fun. Again, all my topics actually really correlate with each other. So I highly recommend watching my episodes, not even just for my sake. And like, I'm not saying this for self-interest. Like, genuinely, I want to help you out and kind of inspire some deeper philosophy with relationships and but working with people. So criticizing. Again, the question that comes up for me is, who do you think you are? Like, to criticize a man who's imperfect? Because I always think, especially in today's day and age where there's a lot of man hating, honestly. I mean, sure, you can say it's both ways, but I'm focusing mainly from the female perspective. There's a lot of man hating. And I just can't help but ask, like, would you treat anybody else this way? Are you criticizing your girlfriends the same way publicly as you are with this guy? Are you doing this with your family? And I'm just curious, how do you think you would feel if you were being criticized? That's also such a golden, concept and philosophy as well, is if you don't know how he's feeling about it, imagine if that was being done to you. How would you feel if he was criticizing your looks all the time? Or you're this, or you're that? You wouldn't feel good and you'd probably want an out. And unfortunately, if he's secure in himself and confident in himself enough, then he would probably leave somebody who criticizes him. But I'm not going for what the man should do right now. I'm focusing on the female. Don't criticize men. It's not necessary. It doesn't work well with them. Men today especially are really just not doing well, and they're already beating themselves down when they don't need to. And so to have, women in their lives, and men cherish women. So to have women in their lives beat them down even more, it's so sad. So again, he's a human being. Why are you criticizing him and beating him down? I've just seen a few times of in public, couples or something, of course, again, this is very mutual. This could happen completely on the flip, but I'm just focusing on the woman. And she has to say something that kind of puts him down in front of her girlfriend's oh my gosh, can you believe he, and I'm just why would you do that? Again, it goes back to you're disrespecting him. The number one golden rule in relationships is that you need to respect him through and through. When you're happy, when you're sad, when you're upset, when you're frustrated, whatever, you respect him. If respect is not at the core of your relationship, you don't date that man. And if you are not a respectful person in general, and this is just how you operate with men, you should not be dating either. I'm so tired of seeing women who should not be dating and they just constantly date, and then all their relationships are just garbage, honestly. And these poor men that they're dating are just getting beaten down. And I'm with all due respect, I'm where's the etiquette? Where's the class? Where's the sophistication when dealing with men? If you want a gentleman, you also need to be a lady. And being a critic is not being a lady. Of course, if you need, maybe if you hope for some change or whatever, you can have open conversations about that. And then, so here's my advice with that. If let's say there's something that's going on that he does that you don't really like, for example, I don't know, let's say it's the video games. Rather than beating him down, why do you play video games all the time? Playing video games is cringy and childish or whatever. And, again, beating him down for no reason. Say, honey, I'd like to talk with you. Have a mature conversation. Sit down. It's crazy how people can't even request having a sit down conversation. So have a conversation with him and then say, honey, I'm being very vulnerable and honest with you right now. And I just want you to know how I feel about this. It's been bothering me for quite a bit of time and I'm feeling very frustrated. I've done a lot of work myself to work through it, but it's not really getting better. And so I just wanted to voice to you playing, you playing 6 hours of video games on the days that we hang out really makes me feel sad and bad because blah, 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 blah. And then you go on. But do you see how I said it so gently? And I wasn't, saying anything about his character. I talked about how it made me feel. And that's what I'm saying is good men who love you want to make you happy. So if he's a good man, and then again, goes back to the golden, if he respects you, he will take it into consideration and he will try and find a solution. And you see how I inspired again, quote unquote, the problem are my feelings are sad or in a negative state. He's going to feel inspired to try and get it to be happy. So maybe he'll be okay, maybe he'll negotiate. I don't know. He'll be okay, what if I play 3 hours? And then, it's up to you to decide if you can do that or say, is there any way we could just have one full day a week where there's no video games? And then talk about it. Again, you're a team. There should be respect at the hecking front of all conversations with your significant other. Don't let emotions, don't let your past hurt get in the way of you speaking respectfully and lovingly to your partner. Okay? But enough critiquing. I can't deal with that. Or if you want to keep critiquing, you better keep critiquing everybody in your life and then see how ridiculous it is that you're only doing it to your romantic partner. And then again, and then let's say he doesn't change, then that's up to you and your self-respect and your confidence to be I don't want to date somebody who's playing video games the whole time that I'm hanging out with them. So respectful love. I know I keep saying the same thing, but it's actually crazy how this has not clicked for most people, especially I would say in America. In a respectful, loving relationship, people are a team and they want to make each other happy and feel good. And so if he's not, maybe up to par, you need to tell him that, not in a critical way, but in an encouraging, self-reflective way. And then if he doesn't care about you because he's not loving and respectful, then that's up to you in your confidence to walk away. Okay. Now the third thing, my favorite, this is deeper in women than you could imagine. And this was actually something very surprising to me as I was growing up, seeing this in my female compatriots, I guess, and my peers and all that. Because I grew up in a family where this was not a thing. It was actually the complete opposite. But the third thing, to never be with men. I don't care what you are, what your philosophies are, if you're like kind of Shira 7, sprinkle, whatever, is to be entitled. Oh my gosh. The amount of entitlement is crazy. Now, don't get me wrong. I actually have empathy for women who come from households where daddies, spoiled you like crazy. And I love that. I love that you had a special, amazing relationship with your dad. And I did too. And I'm very blessed in that way. Although I was never irrationally spoiled. And my parents taught me a lot about gratitude and that nothing is given to me and kind of like owed to me. That's what I'm getting at. But oh my gosh, I see this entitlement run deep with women, especially with men. And I have actually found like the golden way to approach this, because I can understand as a woman, you're kind of raised in this way of like, you're a princess, right? And men, especially, again, dads tend to treat you in a very nice, lovely, spoiled, maybe entitled way. But I think that there could have been a better approach to that, because I don't think it's fair for men to feel this expectation of them. Again, they're human beings. Have we forgotten that? I think women today think of men in such a skewed way that I'm like, let's bring this back to reality. He is a human being. He is imperfect. He has flaws. He has insecurities. He's a person with thoughts, feelings, struggles, accomplishments, whatever. He is a uniquely packaged person. He's not just some blank bank or something, okay? Seriously. So here's the attitude change that I would suggest to women who really struggle with entitlement. What does entitlement look like? Oh, he has to pay on the first date. Oh, if he doesn't do this for me, it's over. If it's over, or something like that. Just like this constant, and again, like the core idea here and the core question is like, who do you think you are? Like, genuinely. Again, I get that your dad maybe even instilled that in you and made you entitled, but I'm like, I don't think that's really going to serve you well in life. Why? Because it shows that you are not a respectful person and you don't see people as people. You see them as things to... Okay, it got cut out for some reason, but I was just saying, when you have this kind of entitled energy, it is just signaling to people that they're not going to respect you, honestly, because you don't respect them and you don't see them as people, and that you just see them as things that are going to owe you things. And if you want to live your life like that, then period, like that's all for you. But I can't help but really want to promote on this channel loving, fulfilling relationships with good, loving, respectful men who cherish you, who treat you with the utmost respect, and just all the gooey, gushy, lovey-dovey stuff that I know is possible to have in a relationship. But unfortunately, specifically in the US, it seems to be very transactional, very superficial. People aren't really happy. It's a lot of toxic, I don't know. It's not very good. So I'm trying to bring the more European approach to dating back into the US, because, that's what I grew up in, and it was just so amazing and so healthy. And seeing my family and my parents still happily in love and just blissful and all the things, I'm just like, I want to be able to promote that and kind of teach people how to be able to get to that point. So yeah, being an entitled lady is not the best. And I can't remember if I already shared this or not. I don't really know exactly where I got cut off, but I was doing an example of what to do, let's say, in the hope versus expectation experiment. Like, for example, let's say, your expectation was that he'd pay for the first date. Okay. So now let's hope for that. I hope he pays for the first date. Imagine if a man knew that you hoped that he would take care of you on the first date. I think, again, that would instill so much more than if you expected him. And then it just feels like there's no room for, again, that self-inspiration to try and help you, take care of you, because it's not coming from a place of like you want help and you want care. It's that you want expectation and, I don't know, like a standard already owed to you. I mean, you let me know how you would feel if men had that for you, like some sort of expectation that like you had to do stuff with them on the third date or the second date. Like that's, I don't know. You tell me what energy you're picking up from that and how much you like that. But I think on average, we can agree that humans and adults don't want that. So yeah, these are the 3 things that you should never be with a man: a nagger, a critic, and an entitled woman. And just to kind of close up completely again, I, on this platform, just really want to help women achieve their best lives possible and have the most amazing romantic relationships with men possible. Not in a manipulative way, in a very gentle, genuine way. I'm here to promote dating sweet, good men who cherish you, who take care of you, who are loving and caring and respectful. And I would assume, those are all the traits of a gentleman, that I can hopefully teach you how to be the lady equivalent to that. Because I think every gentleman should have their little lady. So those are just my opinions and ideas. And thank you so much if you listened, if you did all the way. It really means the world. I absolutely love my Pearl podcast. I know it's small and everything, but this has just been such a fun little side project for me to be able to really play around with some ideas in my free time, on vacation, in between work, and just try and help others, because that's really just my calling in life, is to help others. So again, I hope that this helped. Thank you for listening. I am wishing you an amazing day, and I'm praying for you. God bless.